Ever heard that term, somnambulistic state, and pictured something, I don't know, really dramatic and weird from a movie? Well, today, we're going to strip all of that away. We're taking the wisdom from some of the world's absolute best in hypnosis and regression and boiling it down into a practical guide. Think of this as your masterclass on how to reach this incredibly powerful state of mind and how to do it fast. So let's get started. We're kicking things off with this quote from the legend herself, Dolores Cannon, because it gets right to the heart of the problem. The popular idea of what a deep trance looks like is usually just wrong, and that confusion gets in the way. So today, we're going to move past all that and look at what this state actually is based on the people who really mastered it.
So here's our game plan for this little masterclass. First, we're going to figure out exactly where we're going. What is this state? Then we'll get into the prep work that makes everything go faster. After that, what to do if you get stuck, and then how to talk to the subconscious once you're there. And we'll wrap it all up with a really powerful final takeaway from all these experts.
Okay, let's dive into part one. This is so fundamental. I mean, before we can talk about getting somewhere fast, we all need to agree on the destination, right? So what does this state of deep trance actually look and feel like? According to the masters, the answer, well, it might surprise you. Dolores Cannon's definition is really the foundation for all of this. She says, forget what the person looks like. Don't worry if they're slumping in the chair or whatever. The real question is, who is talking? When the answers start coming out without any emotion, without any attempt to make it a good story, and without any pause to think, that's when you know the deeper mind, what she calls the subconscious, is at the wheel. Now, Dave Ellman gives us a more, let's say, a mechanical definition, which is super useful. For him, it's black and white. The part of your brain that analyzes and judges and asks, am I doing this right, is offline. It's bypassed. If that little inner critic is still chirping away, you're not there yet. Period. It's a state where suggestions are just accepted. No internal debate. And here we go. This quote from Gerald Kane just completely demolishes the biggest myth out there. He's saying you cannot judge the depth by how someone looks. It's not about appearances. He's seen people with their eyes wide open who are in a profound somnambulistic state, and others who look totally out of it, drooling even, and their conscious mind is still running the show. It is all about the quality of the response. This one from Candace Craw-Goldman gives us such a subtle but incredibly powerful indicator to look for. Think about this. When someone is truly deep, they can talk about something intensely traumatic, but with total neutrality. The emotional pain is just gone. They're narrating the facts from a distance, not reliving the feeling of it. That emotional detachment is one of the clearest signs you're there.
Okay, so let's put it all together. When you combine what all these experts are saying, you get a really clear, practical definition. The somnambulistic state is when that analytical, critical mind takes a back seat, and it allows a deeper part of you to speak. And it speaks with neutrality, with authority, and the answers just flow. They're automatic. And it has absolutely nothing to do with looking like you're asleep.
Now, this is so crucial for anyone doing this kind of work. On the left, you see the real signals of depth, that neutral tone, the automatic answers, this feeling of authority. But on the right, these are the traps, the false positives. Someone might just be really polite and trying to give you what they think you want. Or maybe they're just a great storyteller with a vivid imagination. Those things can look like depth, but they're actually signs that the conscious mind is still very much in charge. Okay, so now we know what we're aiming for. Let's talk about how to get there fast. And here is the big secret from the experts, and it's a little counterintuitive. The speed of your session isn't really decided during the session. It's decided in the preparation, before the person even closes their eyes. When you look at these foundational steps, you'll see they all do one thing. They help the analytical mind relax. When you give someone permission and tell them there's no way to do it wrong, you start to disarm that inner critic. When you clarify the purpose, you get their whole system on board. Then you normalize it, taking off the pressure to have some perfect visual experience. When the mind has clarity and feels a deep sense of safety, it's more than willing to just let go. Oh, this is such a brilliant strategy from Gerald Kane. Instead of trying to fight or shut down that analytical mind, you give it a job. You basically say, hey, I need you. Your job is to analyze everything, but after we're done. For now, just be an observer. This turns the mind into an ally instead of an obstacle. And you know what? It works like a charm. But what happens when things aren't going so smoothly? I mean, even with the best prep in the world, sometimes a session can just stall out. So now we're digging into the practical toolkit, what the experts do to get things moving again when someone is just stuck. So this is the classic situation, right? The person is relaxed, they're cooperative, but they're just not all the way there. They're hovering in this middle ground. The experts say you've basically got about a minute to fix this before the conscious mind fully re-engages. So what are their go-to rapid-fire resets? You'll notice that all three of these fixes work by bypassing thought. Elman's advice: stop asking questions and start giving short, direct commands. Mandel suggests using a physical reflex, like an arm drop, because the body can respond automatically, faster than the mind can analyze. And Kine's fix is to simplify everything down to one single task, like just listen, because a mind that's multitasking is a conscious mind. And now for the single biggest, most common session killer there is. It's that little voice that whispers, "This isn't real. I'm just making all of this up." So how do you handle that without starting an argument and breaking the whole state? Well, the experts are pretty much all on the same page with this one. The key here is to never fight that thought head on. Don't get into a debate about what's real. You just sidestep it. You say, okay, maybe you are making it up. That's fine. Tell me about it anyway. You can reframe imagination as simply the language of the subconscious. By separating the experience from the interpretation of the experience, you take off all the pressure, and the session can just keep going. Okay, you've done it. You successfully guided someone to this somnambulistic state. The connection is open. The next phase, and it's just as important, is the communication. How do you ask questions? How do you interact in a way that keeps that channel pure and the answers clear without accidentally waking up the conscious mind? The practitioner's job at this point is to become almost boringly neutral. Seriously, any excitement or surprise or judgment in your voice can jolt the client's ego right back awake. Your tone has to communicate this is completely normal. That sense of safety is everything. And you want to keep your questions simple and direct to encourage those automatic, unthought-out responses. This table illustrates the difference perfectly. A clean question is open-ended. It just asks for information. A contaminated question, well, it contains the answer you're hoping for. Asking, is this a karmic contract, is leading the witness. Asking, what is the origin of this pattern, allows the subconscious to give you the real information in its own terms. The goal is to be a reporter, not the storyteller. So we've covered the definition, the preparation, the troubleshooting, and the communication. Now we get to the most important piece of all, the underlying philosophy that actually makes everything else work. This is the simple truth behind all the technique. And there it is. Dolores Cannon reminds us that this isn't about fighting or struggling. You can't force the conscious mind into submission. It doesn't work that way. But if you create an environment where that mind feels safe, where it feels respected, and where it isn't being judged or challenged, it will willingly and happily step aside all on its own. That, right there, is the real secret to depth. So we'll end with this question, just for you to think about. Forget hypnosis and sessions for just a second. Think about your own life, your own challenges, your own big questions. What insights, what solutions, what truths could emerge for you if that analytical, judging, critical part of your mind just fell silent for a little while and allowed a deeper wisdom to speak?